I am on the hunt again. I'm actually headed down south this time to hit up a couple of comic shops that I've been to in the past. I'm actually really truthfully running an errand for the households, but my thought was while I'm down there doing some things for the house, I might as well do a thing or two for myself. So we're going to hit up some shops and see what we can see. And along the way, I'm also going to be doing again some errands for the house. One of them is the return of this thing right here. It is a massive portfolio holder that I ordered to actually hold some artwork that I've picked up. But the thing's too big. The thing literally is the size of the back seat of the car. So it has to go back to Amazon. And I've already ordered a smaller, more appropriately sized portfolio for my art. And then I'm also going to be mailing out a couple of things to a few people that have won some giveaways from the contest. So as always, guys, I'm going to take you guys along for the journey and try to document this thing as best I can. And if I walk away with some cool books, I will show you those at the very end. I hope you enjoy. So I was planning to hit a shop that I had been to before, several times, in fact, that I bought a lot of books from. But I decided at the last minute that I wanted to mix it up. And I didn't want to get into this groove of just going to places that I've been to before because I already know what to expect there. So I decided to mix it up and to hit a shop that I have only heard about before online. Like I've done searches for comic shops, and this one has popped up a couple of times, but I've never been here. So I decided to mix it up and hit a place called Space Cat. It is actually located right behind me. And I'm honestly not even sure what to expect from this place. I've never been here before, never spoken to anyone that has been here before. So we're going to head inside, not knowing what to expect. I'm not sure if I'll be able to film or take photos or any of that other kind of stuff. But we'll do the best that we can, and maybe we'll even walk away with a couple of cool books. So I almost made a critical mistake in this comic shop. I'm looking around, I'm looking down, I'm going through boxes, but I forgot to look up. I almost missed all of the awesome comics that this shop actually puts in the rafters. Completely missed it when I walked in and walked around, didn't even see it. And it wasn't until Beverly, who was working in the shop, actually, suggested that I looked up, that I actually noticed all the comics that were hanging from the rafters. So I spent another like 15 minutes actually looking around the shop at all of those great comics that were hanging up there. So it just goes to show you that you can hit a shop and actually miss things even when you're actually looking. So I managed to pick up something from the shop here, so definitely stay tuned until the end of the video so I can show you what I snagged. I am outside of a comic shop that I like to hit every couple of months. A place called Jinks down in San Jose. The guy, Neil, that owns this shop, I actually dig him. He is a long-haired, free-speaking kind of guy that I really just dig. So I just left this shop. I picked up some really cool stuff and also had a fantastic conversation with him. So stay tuned because I have some cool books that you guys are going to want to see. So I am back in the comic book room and I'm ready to show you guys the books that I picked up a little earlier today. I actually had a little more free time today than I normally do, so I didn't feel as rushed and I was able to take a little more time to shoot some footage and enjoy my conversations with the various shop owners and employees that I met over the course of today. I actually hit two shops. The first was Space Cat, which has been open for about 4 years or so, and the second was Jinks Comics in San Jose, and this shop has been around in one form or another for a very long time, but both shops pretty solid. I think for me and my collecting habits, I think that Jinks is a better store, but if you're into like games and graphic novels and things like that, Space Cat is definitely a good way to go because they have none of that stuff. Oh, they do have the graphic novels at Jinks, but definitely not the games. And so again, two great shops that are offering some really awesome things to the comic book community here in the San Francisco Bay Area. So when I first got to Space Cat, one of the very first things that I noticed as soon as I hit the door were a couple of boxes sitting next to the door, and they were free comic book day bins, and I immediately zeroed in on the one that said Free Comic Book Day 2019. Why? Because my copy of Spawn was actually damaged, the copy that I picked up from my local comic shop, and you can't really complain, it's a free comic, right? But when I saw this bin, I immediately looked at the person that was working in the shop and asked if they were charging. She assured me that they weren't. She was like, I think she said, when you have too many, you just continue to give them away. So there you go. But I was able to pick up a replacement copy of Spawn #1. Definitely a cool book. I dig the cover, but I like red, so this is definitely a cool cover, and definitely pleased to be able to replace the copy that I picked up just a short while ago. I also, while I was there, picked up a copy of Avengers 1. Again, I already have a copy of this, but why only have one if you can have two? Same thing with the Bloodshot #1. Haven't read either one of these, but why not have two instead of just one? So as I kind of mentioned, I missed the boat when I was in Space Cat. I neglected to actually look up, and I actually walked through the shop a couple of times Never bothered to actually look up into the rafters until after the employee actually told me that that's where the older books were kept. I immediately looked up and then had to spend more time walking around the shop again to check out all the books that were up there. Pulled down a couple and ultimately passed on 2 of the 3 that I pulled down. They just weren't in the right shape. Prices were good, but they weren't in the right shape for me to actually pick them up. But there was a third that I honestly almost didn't even have her pull down for me. And the reason for it is that when I first saw the book, it's actually a square bound book. It looked like the spine had been collapsed. So instead of it being, a 90-degree angle, it looked like it was basically flattened out, like a modern comic. And I had her pull it down, took it out of the plastic, and then I realized that it wasn't flattened. It was just a poor wrap. So the book that I'm talking about is Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 10. As I mentioned before in some videos, I don't see these annuals, king-size annuals, all that often, but I've been on a little bit of a tear as of late, being able to find these books in the wild. So this one was really cool. I was pleased to see again that the spine was still perfectly square. It was just a bad wrap, and I can actually live with that. There's a little bit of something going on up here in the corner where this book can definitely benefit from a press. There's a dog ear with color breaking crease over here in the lower corner. There's a little bit of dirt over here and also on the back, but outside of those defects, this book is actually in solid shape. Very square. The staples aren't piercing the paper on the front or the back. And again, it's a really nice copy. I think with a clean and a press, this book could be pretty darn solid. So definitely pleased to have found that one, and also pleased to have been able to bring it home for a fair price. So after I left that shop, I ventured maybe another 12 minutes or so to Jinks Comics. I actually enjoy this place. I enjoy this shop. I enjoy the atmosphere. And this shop has been around for a very long time under the ownership of various people. It's been around for a while. And I was able to pick up some solid books from them today. This book, Amazing Spider-Man 239, they actually had 2 copies of this one. I picked the cheaper of the 2, partly because the 2 books side by side were pretty darn identical. This one has a small dog ear down here in this corner. The other didn't. But from the back, that's where the differences could really be seen. The other that was priced 3 times as much as this one had a snow white back. This one had some dirt and debris kind of on the back that I hope can be cleaned off. And if it can't, it's still perfectly fine. It is a nice copy of Amazing Spider-Man 239. Good enough for the run that I'm working on, trust me. So definitely pleased to have that one. And the part of the reason why I went a little cheaper on that one was because of this next book. This next one is a nice book, and I have had this book in my hands maybe twice before, and both times I've actually passed on the book because it wasn't quite where I wanted it to be. But this one's nice. This is Amazing Spider-Man number 122. This is The Death of the Green Goblin. A awesome book and an awesome story. John Romita artwork, and this thing is clean. It really is. Inside and out, this thing is clean. Shout out to the owner of Jinks for being able to hook me up with this really nice John Romita cover here. Definitely pumped about this book. And I am getting closer every book, every video that I show you to being able to complete this run, at least the 1 through 261, because that's where the focus is. But I want to thank you guys for taking the time to watch this video. I hope that you enjoyed it, found it entertaining even. And if so, if you haven't already hit the subscribe button, I definitely want to encourage you to do so that you can stay abreast of all the content that I release on a weekly basis. And if you need to reach out to me, feel free to do so at Regie Collects on Gmail and Regie Collects on Instagram. Take care.